can see that the iterations, repetition, and loops that they defines the exactly same things actually. And the repetition structures are used to repeat a block of code, either a specific number of times, it can be a specific number of times, or while some condition remains true. That the condition can be a specific number or can be a condition remains true. If the condition is true, then over loop to be executed. Okay, here that the example, a specific number of times and while condition remains is true. Here that you can think that the people can run around this place, and if the coach says that run 3 times, and the sportsman that can understand, I am going to run around these places that 3 times. It's exactly defined value, that the number of times. And another thing that coach can say, run around these places until the whistle blows. And then the sportsman uh, that will not understand it will understand that it will that we will run around the places, but will not know how many times to be run around that places. It will until the whistle blows. It can be after directly after starting point and after 1 seconds or after uh, 5 minutes, or that we don't know how many times that to be run around these places. That can be the specific number of times, or can be a condition remains true that we can use in loops. Yeah, it can be precondition or post condition. For example, here in this flow chart, that it execute the code here, that it puts hello, and then it will check the condition. It is post condition, that do while loop that we are going to use for it. And here you can see it is exactly same algorithm, same flow chart, but here you can see it first checks the condition, and then if the condition is true, then it will execute the code. It is the precondition that while loop or for loop for we are going to use for it. Now let's see. Let's continue with loops repetitions here. That my presentation. Um, how we use loops in C sharp. Yes, you can use in C sharp for loop, while loop, or do while loop. And also that we are going to use, we can use for each loop in C sharp. Yes, loops can execute a block of code as long as a specified condition is reached. Um, and the while loop, how we can use while loop in C sharp. The while loops through a block of code as long as specified condition is true. And here that the while loop, and we that while keyword, that we have to write it with lowercase letters, and the condition that between parentheses, and then block of code between between curly braces. If we have just one line of code, uh, that it will work with while loop, then yeah, we can write without curly braces. It's possible. Here that the while loop, that the example, we have to it's counter, for example, here that we are going to name it I or counter or any others, that it is counter, and we have to start the counter, of course, if we are going to define a specific specific number of times that the over loop if will continue and will repeat, and then while loop to be start, while, and the condition if I less than 5, then the codes to be executed between curly braces. Here that it will write the I, that the value of the I, and we have to increase the value, increase the counter here because it was 0, and then we are going to write the values from 0 to 5, and then we have to increase the counter value. Here that what will happen with this code, it will start from 0, that the first time 0 is less than 5. Yes, it will put on screen 0, and then I will increase one by one, and it will be 1. It will show, it will put 1, that the value of the I, and then it will be 2, it will be 3, it will be 4, and then here I less than. Here that not equal, there is no equal symbol, and because of that, when I will be 4, and then the execution will stop, and our application will show the numbers from 0 to that the 5, but 5 not included, it will show on the screen. Here that I++ or sometimes that we need that to increase the value, or sometimes we need to decrease the value one by one, or that what value that you are going to define. And it's very important, if you forget it, and or if you forget that, otherwise the loop will never end. It means that the infinite loop will happen, that our application will not stop. And of course that the infinite loop is danger in software development. Okay. um, Do while loop, that you can use do while loop, but in most cases that yeah, maybe that the programmers doesn't prefer that they use do while. But if you need that the post condition, it is while. Let's see that the do while loops is variant of the while loop, and this loop will execute the code block once, minimum once. It will execute minimum once, and before checking the condition is true. If the condition is false from the starting value, but even if it false, then our loop to be executed once, because it will check the condition later. Okay. uh, and then it that you can use like this do while. It starts with do keyword, and between curly braces that we have the statements, exactly same code with this one. And here also that we have starting value, it starts from 1, and then it of course that we need to increase it, or if we need that to decrease one by one, or that's what uh, value that you need. And it will be start like this. If we show it with flow chart, it will start with do keyword, and then it will execute the statement, and then it will check the condition. If the condition is true, then it will execute the statement again. If the condition is false, then our loop to be finished, to be stopped, and then it will continue after do while loop. This is do while loop that you can use in your C# code. And for loop, it is also that we are going to use in our applications, that when you know exactly how many times you want to loop through a block of code, use for loop instead of the while loop. Here that we can use in C# that with like this. It starts with the for keyword. It's lower key letters, of course, that are for statement 1, statement 2, and statement 3. Between them that we have a semicolon. Statement 1 especially that what we are going to use it for starting, but that the counter's starting value. And statement 2, it will be condition that we are going to write. And the statement 3 is the increasing or decreasing value, that I plus plus, I minus minus. For example, it will be statement 3. And if the condition is true, then the block of code between curly braces that to be executed. Also that we can show like this for keyword, it's that initialization, it is for condition for counter, condition, increment or decrement. And then this block of code to be executed between curly braces. It is the flowchart that shows how the for loop is working. It will start from starting value that the counter, then it will check the condition. If it's true, then the statement to be executed, then it will increase or decrement value, and then it will check again the condition, and then if it's true, again this statement to be executed in for loop. Example that also exactly same example. It will put the numbers from 0 to 4 uh, for included, and here that the for starting value 0 that the for I, and then it will check if I less than 5, and then it will increase the counter one by one, and then if the condition is true, then it will put the number that the I value on the screen. It is for loop that we are going to use in our examples. And the for each loop, it is very convenient way that they use looping in array for array and the lists that we are going to use. Today we are going to use also that the for each loop. Here that the type for each, it starts with for each keyword, and the variable name, that the local variable, it will be local variable, and then in also another keyword that we are going to use, and the array name or list name that we are going to use, and then this block of code to be executed. We can use this variable name, variable value directly in our code, because that in for each loop, this variable name, this local variable, to be hold that the one by one that the each elements of the array or the list element, that, and then we can reach it and we can use it, and also we can reach it using index numbers. We are going to discuss about the index numbers also together with array topics. Yeah. And nested loops also that you can use in your code. It means that the loops in loops, here that we have inner loop and we have outer loop. You can see here that this one is outer loop and this one is inner loop. Can be that the outer loop can be while, inner loop can be for, or also that they can nested while loop, and also the outer loop also can be while loop or for loop, and inner loop also can be for loop. Also can be outer loop for, and the inner loop is while. It is possible. You can nested loops two or more loops, of course, more loops, yes. But it's not good way actually if you use so many loops in another loops, and it will be difficult to manage the application or the execution of the code. And but yes, you can use if you need. Uh, but two is actually that is, yeah, good way that I can say. Here that the example about that for nested loops. Here that it is possible to place loop inside another loop. This is called the nested loop. And here you can see this is outer loop and this is inner loop. And here it will start how it works. First start the outer loop. It's this one, I. And then if it's true, then it will jump to inner loop. Then it will get this one, that the j is 1. And then if their condition is true, then it will continue. It will continue, of course, first it will continue. It will write this line. and then it will jump to inner loop. And then here it will execute this one. J will be, it first will finish the inner loop, and then it will start again the outer loop that I will be 2. It is how it works. It is the example, that the good example, that the time table, yeah, it's a multiplication table. And here that it starts first outer loop and the inner loop. First it takes I is equal 1 as a counter, and then if the condition is true, then there is no any other code in outer loop, and it starts that the inner loop j will be 1, and then here it will show, we can write like this, that the I will represent this sorry, that the 0, that the first one, it represents this I. It's like index number. It is 0. It likes index number. It will be show here. And then 1, it will be J. It represents the J. And then it will be show here. And then it will multiplicate, and then it will show this table. It is example of nested loops. And then it will continue, it will finish that the j value, first it will finish a value of the j, and then until 10, and then I value to be increased by by 1, and then I value will be 2, and then again it will continue in the inner loop.